Hi. Hi. So, devlog number 3, which this one actually is number 3, rather than the last one I said it was number 3. Quite a bit has happened, at least as far as I'm concerned. I feel like quite a bit has happened since the last devlog. There's a few little chunks to this one, but in brief, I think last time I had the inputs set up and going in. I'll talk a little bit more about that. The horses now, the camera now follows whichever horse is in the lead, and there is an end state to the game. Whenever a horse reaches x equals 100, like 100 blocks along, then the camera stops following it and the background stops scrolling. So there is a way of the game ending, and that'll be the win state. I'll probably work on that more today. There was a few minor changes with the art, and then I did do some screen grabbing of coding, which I'm sure for some of you is going to be just as agonizing as, say, when a professional basketball player sees someone throw a basketball for the first time. You know that that person's trying hard, but oh, it hurts you inside, and I'm sorry in advance. So, first things first, the input. I will show you now what I have going into the computer, and also why I think, although I have it working here, why I think it's going to be a problem. But anyway, so here we have one Zoom H4 audio recorder, which I already owned. Again, another one, an H2, which I already owned. We have a tiny little cheap lav mic down here. And for the fourth input, since I didn't have another microphone, I used my keyboard here, which is set just to give a constant organ chord in my MacGyver Cludge sort of way. So the keyboard is constantly giving signal to the line in on the back of the computer, which is useful because it means I can words, jump cut of words. Okay, where was I? Keyboard constantly giving signal to line in, which is really useful because it means that if I just want to test what happens at the end state, I can up the sensitivity massively and the horse will just go woo, as you will see later. Now, as I mentioned, this could be a problem because not everyone has two external audio recorders to their disposal. A much easier way of doing, not most people, if you say with a laptop or whatever, you've just got the onboard mic of the laptop or the microphone in. A lot of them don't even have line-ins. So without some kind of hardware, this is going to be very difficult for me to hand in any form other than me showing the Game Jam people how it works and giving them the program and saying good luck, which isn't very good, but if that's all that I can do, I will. Later, as time gets closer to crunch time, I might see if I can borrow, I don't know, say some kind of interface of someone and see if I can make that work, and so it'll be a little bit more simple to set up. But it's not a major concern. It's just, even though I'm doing this for the first time, I do want to turn in something that everybody who downloaded would be able to use functionally in some way or other. But I do have an idea which might help with that, which I will go into at the end of this video. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was just some very small artwork changes. Not so much changes even, it's just Jesse, who drew all the sprites, was around yesterday and took one look at it and said, oh, it looks good, but it's completely out of proportion, this needs to be bigger, this needs to be smaller, and so I made the changes that she said, and I think it looks a lot better. Also, I've put the clouds in now, and the little bits of grass. They need to be kind of proportioned to give some sense of depth, and I'd really like to come up with a nice little maths thing to give a range of numbers to randomly instantiate these things without them looking crap. I don't know, I'm saying that as if it's going to be simple. I don't know. I'm going to try it anyway though, just because it'll be interesting, because I don't, I know it's possible now, having looked up the mathf functions in the Unity reference. And you'll see why I looked up the mathf functions just after this. And so also Jessie said she's more than happy to do some more art assets and things like that. We need a finish line as it stands. I'd quite like all of the text in the game to be hand drawn as well. And you know, if there's going to be a menu or whatever, some big drawing for that. I don't know. Yes. Anyway, I may have just spent time staring at the screen. Yes, another thing that was discussed was the possibility of trying to make little dust trails come off the horse's hooves, and maybe have like a starter pistol. And this really interested me because, again, she would draw like the 3 different animation states, and for the starter gun that would just be a regular animation. But I've also began to look into the possibility of making some kind of a particle effect using hand-drawn sprites. But it might end out just to be way easier just to trigger a looping animation that follows the horse. I don't know. This may or may not happen. This is just conjecture. Just while we got talking about it, we had wild ideas of what might be fun to put in. So, I believe next we are on to the code, which I recorded earlier using XSplit, and hopefully is not too... I've just woken up, oh God, what is life? So I will put that in here. So, attempt 2 at recording this stuff, because last time I didn't have enough of a good screen resolution for you to even be able to see the code. I'm scrabbling a little bit with making this work. So, just quickly, there are actually 4 main scripts at the minute. One of them is mic control, which is the thing I talked about in the earlier videos. Mic control is a script you can get for free on the asset store. It's designed to get a real-time value for the loudness of a microphone input in your computer, along with a few other things. This is a slightly modified version. It's called Mic Control Bill, because my friend Bill helped me change it so that you could set, on each instance of it, you could set which microphone device you would use. So this means that each of the horses in Unity here have an instance of mic control on them, and using that script, that's not anything, that's a black screen, using that device number you could get a loudness float, and use that loudness float for movement. Now, in terms of the script I've made, let's start with the easiest one. This is the background scroll. When you start the game, the background scrolls to the left, and that initially was the simplest code in the world. It was just transform, translate, vector 3, left times time dot delta time. However, I wanted to make it so that when the game ended, when someone won the race, the track would stop scrolling, which is an effect I can show you now. Actually, if I up the sensitivity of this to say 20 and press play, it should make it move really fast. It does, and so I'll explain, or maybe have already explained, why that moves really fast. It's because of the keyboard. And as you see, the camera stops scrolling, the background stops scrolling. It's kind of an end state, and the way I did that was by grabbing the camera. Using GameObject.find to find the camera in general, and storing the script here. So every update tick, it is looking at the camera script, and that allows me to make a new variable here from maxHorseX, which I will explain in a minute. It's something in the camera script. But maxHorseX, essentially, it probably is fairly self-explanatory. That's the maximum X position a horse has. So whichever horse is in front, that's what that value will be. Now, if it's less than 100, I want the background to keep scrolling because the race isn't over yet. If it's more than 100, I want the background to stop scrolling because that means somebody has won. And that's what this does, this little if statement. I don't know if this is bad practice or not. I knew once it went over 100, I wanted it to do nothing, so I just put nothing in there. To those of you who may be just as dumb as me, this bit here, the my transform thing, I've read in so many places that it's a good idea to cache the transform. Now, I literally don't know what a cache is, right? But I do it because I've been told it's good practice. So every time I know I'm going to be using the transform function, I cache the transform, and then say that, you know, my transform equals transform, and then use that. And that's my phone, and you can go away. And the all of this stuff here, the game object camera script, all that, that's just to allow me to get details from the camera script, which is here. Now the camera script is where it detects where the horses are. This is where the wind state comes from. A lot of stuff goes on in here. So the game objects and the floats are all, the cyan horse is the game object, the cyan horse position is the X position of that one horse. And again, I use game object finds to find all of these horses, and then used typing the, and then in the update class, or whatever it's called, I said that cyan horse position is the transform position of the cyan horse, in just the X though, so that's just how far it goes along the screen, and the same with green and purple and that. So now I have 4 variables which are the position of each one of these horses at any one time. And then I went into the reference and looked up how to get the maximum value, which is in mathf. Mathf max will take any 4 values, or sorry, 2 or more values you put into it, and tell you which is the highest out of them. So that's what this is doing. It's reading in every update tick. These are changing because it's every update tick it's changing the position of the X. Mathf is constantly saying which is the highest, which is the highest, which is the highest. And now under here is what I wanted to do with the camera. The reason it starts off is saying if max horse is greater than 12. At the very start of the race, oh, that's going to be too fast. At the very start of the race, I didn't want the camera to jump back and immediately start following the horse. So I made it so that right now the background is just scrolling. That's all that's happening. The camera isn't moving. But as soon as a horse gets off past 12, which is here, or was there, and the camera starts to follow it. And this continues on right up until the end, where the part I've already showed you. When it gets to 100, the horse goes off the screen because I asked the camera to stop. I asked the camera to stop 5 paces back from the horse, which I don't need to do, thinking about it. But anyway, that's what I do. So again, this is using all the same stuff as the background scroll thing. And finally, the last and badly named script, horse camera action, was, as you can see, a lot of faffing and a lot of debug logging and ridiculous things, most of which I didn't need to do. This is incredibly simple. You get, catch the transform, you get mic control again, so you can get access to the float loudness, and this more accurately should just be called horse movement, because what happens is you grab the mic control, then you set the loudness variable to be mic control loudness, and all you do is you add that to your translate vector to right. So instead of it just moving to the right with time, the loudness also adds to it, which is why you get all of those nice movements, which, if I give this a little more sensitivity, I have done several times on camera, but I still find it so fun to do, that when I speak, the horse moves when I speak, ah ha 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 ha, I'm not mad. So as it stands, this is kind of where I am at. It does feel like, input worries aside, I am getting very close to finishing the very basic idea of how this game will work. Now that I have it so that when the max horse X position reaches 100, the camera stops, the background stops, the next logical event would be to have that to trigger a win state. So the screen comes up saying, congratulations, cyan horse has won. And maybe even just have that as a banner so the rest of the horses can come in, so you can have 2nd, 3rd and 4th places, and then have it so that when the 4th horse, or when the last horse, whatever, when there are no more horses with an X value less than 100, that the screen changes to a podium sort of thing. I don't know, it's just an idea. Now there was something earlier in this video, yes, I remember now. I had a backup plan earlier in the week when I didn't think I was going to be able to get separate inputs, so I didn't think I'd be able to pit people against each other, when I just thought it was going to be just one input sound, which is a game that uses the same technology, the same inputs, but is a different sort of feel, and I think it would be quite fun. And that game, primarily aimed at children, would be a cooperative game where there is a big bucket and you have to make sick noises and that fills the bucket with sick. I just think there'd be nothing funnier than walking into a game space or wherever and just seeing 4 children, or adult children, it doesn't really matter, standing with microphones going to see who can fill a bucket with sick quickest. I am very tempted to maybe try and throw together a very basic version of that as well, because then at very least when I submit this game, if I submit both as one, like you have a starting menu versus or cooperative, if I do have that cooperative game, even if the art is very basic, anyone can play it. You could play it on a laptop with the microphone from the laptop, and you wouldn't have to worry about anything else. And again, if people just had a microphone input, that would at least give them the option of using some kind of desk or microphone splitter. So if they did want to put 4 separate mics in, they could. It would just be a cooperative game. It would just add up to the overall loudness. Now, things like setting up the mics for both games, I'm going to have to think about that, because setting up your Windows sound settings to do this is a nightmare, even if you know what you're doing. If you don't, it's going to be worse. So maybe some kind of collaboration menu is in... Collaboration. Calibration, that's the word. Maybe some kind of calibration menu would be in order to do the mics. So, again, this feels like a good bit of progress to me. If any of you who've seen the code and are now crying and are wondering whether you should gouge your eyes out, please don't. Just tell me what I've done wrong. And if anyone has any kind of just general suggestions, I would be very much up for... Oh! And if anyone fancies doing just a very quick hatchet-y in-paint or Photoshop job of making a bucket and various levels of sick, I would be internally grateful, because hell, if once I've built this game, it's going to be very, very easy to just cut and scrap code together to make the second one, which I'm going to try and do, which I'm going to do even if it isn't done by Saturday. Oh, this is going to be an absolute hatchet job of editing, so I think I will leave it there for today. Thank you very much. My name is Ian. I will see you later. Bye.